This let me see. And who got shot in Philly?
What in the world? Hold on.
Mm. Death toll surpasses 100.
That's
160
the flood.
people missing. Yeah, that's the
You won't
flood.
let me
Yeah.
hold up. Oh wow. It won't let me play the intro. They said you want this customized. Do it in your own time. That's funny. All
When was
right.
the shooting in Philly?
I think it was like it was recent, like yesterday or 2 days ago. It was due to like some what you call it. You know we live though.
No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't know we live,
Woo!
but you say you're shooting at Philly. I just left Philly this morning.
That's what I'm
So
saying. Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about it.
So I mean, it was bad though. It was like a shootout. It wasn't
Oh,
like it was something serious. Like there's clips and dude like had a switch on his gun. They was going back and forth. There's like a lot of casualties. Like you know what I'm saying. So, but they was
mm,
saying it was one of those kind of wild weekends. You know what I'm saying, where like
yeah.
people
It
was
was
just going
hot.
off.
It was hot for sure. So
You think that had an impact on why it was going crazy like that?
I think, I mean, there's been a whole bunch of shootings here, but every time it gets hot, man, it's just summer and it get hot as heck outside. Folk get irritated and real quick, man. And next thing you know, there's a slew of shootings, man. There's been a bunch of shootings here. I just saw some lady gets got shot and killed in Penn Hills recently here, and some other shootings going on here. There's a bunch of shootings, and it was all on them super hot days.
What's your thoughts on that, Smooth? You think the heat plays a role in how dudes get to acting outside? You know what I'm saying, when the weather changes.
Man, the heat and lack of activity. If ain't nothing for them to no activity set for them, they gonna get active, player.
How you think it plays a role, Mo? The weather and extra activities, with the gun violence and stuff.
And we've been dealing with this since we was way younger. I just think it's more interaction. Like I don't know if it's the weather per se. Man, I've heard everything from it having something to do with us being tropical people, and I don't know if I believe that. I just think it has more to do with people having more interaction. And that's unfortunate, but yeah, that's just the way it go, man. More interaction and with volatile people. Um, that will cause more violence, more shootings, and all that. So that's what I believe it is. But like I said, I've heard all kind of stuff why that is, but I don't believe that to be the case.
Um, Interesting story. I remember I had a manager who I was telling him somebody I know died or whatnot, or he was like, "Man, I never in my life has known anybody that gotten shot." And this dude was like 50 years old, but he was he was a white guy, but he was like, "Yeah, I never known anybody in my life that got shot." And I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Yeah, but it is springtime though." And he was like, "Wait, wait, wait. You mean to tell me there's a season where this just happens on a regular basis?" Like, yeah, for the most part.
I mean, like I said, man, 50 said it in the song. He said, I put it in the chat though. He said in the hood, summertime is the killing season. It's hot out this bitch. It's a good enough reason. Man, and you worked in the kitchen before. So you know how hot it get. And when stuff get stressful and it's hot as hell in there, cooler heads don't prevail in there. So you know what I mean. If that's a small sense of what it feels like to be hot with emotions rising and you make mad decisions, man. I mean, I think it's definitely possible because I know in some of those situations in the kitchen, man, on a real hot day, I might react a way that I might not react if it ain't as hot. So It may there may be some correlation to it, some small correlation to, that extra heat and your temperament.
Why do you think people who have such short temperaments, or why are we so volatile? Like, why does a heat wave? Why is that enough to break? You know what I mean? Make us trigger, or what I mean, get itchy on the trigger finger. Smooth, what you think?
Hey man, I don't know, honestly, because I can't speak for other people's actions, man. Um, Dog, that's a question I've yet to find an answer for, man.
What you think, Mo?
So rephrase the question for me.
Why do you think people? And I don't want to just say black people, right? But people in general. Why do you
Okay,
think we're
okay.
Why do we think we're so volatile? And why could something like the weather be the straw to break the camel's back to make us go crazy, or what I'm saying, or stepping on the shoe, or you know what I mean, or remember, you told me that story years ago about the traffic. I had a bad day, like you know what I mean, like
Yeah, when
how
I
do how
first
do you
moved to Atlanta, and
yeah how do
and
people
that,
get
and
so
that,
close to
so
this?
and that's exactly why I had you rephrase the question, because I don't think like, see, I almost have to be politically correct. I would say it's not that. I was gonna say, man, I just think people are stressed, man. It's very stressful times. I don't know if it has anything to do with the heat per se, but it's just people are stressed, and that's how people lash out. Um, and that story you went to is exactly where I was going with that. I remember, what's that, about 18 years ago now? When I moved down here, man, that was one of the very first things I saw on 285. Guy, I want to say, I think he worked for like Roto Rooter or something like that. Got cut off in traffic. Guy flipped him off, man. He followed the guy to the next exit and jumped out the car, finished him, right with his wife and brand new baby in the car. And when they was, doing his perk walk, and he said, I was having a bad day. Like, having a bad day. And that took you to that? So I just think that, man, people are very stressed, and the smallest thing will set them off. So even if it is, heat or whatever to be pissed off about, and then that's what happens, and people snap because they're just dealing with so much already. The heat being another element of that is just one more thing. It gives them a reason to do that. But I don't want to say normal people, but like well-adjusted people don't do that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that that's a thing. Like,
Oh,
I've
just
never had a moment where I'm ready to do that over something like.
I think that's such. People who are well adjusted that pot becomes smaller and smaller based on your interactions with the world. Just you know people always can misunderstand a lot of different things, and you don't know where they're at in their adjustment. And I think it's a high probability that you're dealing with somebody that's not well adjusted, as you would say. He's frozen. He
Oh
hasn't
yeah,
he
he
hasn't bought
back.
it in
He
a while,
back.
so he
He's back.
probably downgraded his internet. What you got? What
No,
you got, Lee?
me? Is it me?
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
froze for a little bit.
yeah.
Okay.
What you got, Lee?
But
I was gonna say, I think it is certainly what Reese said. There's a level of stress there. I think that um, the correlation that I was trying to make, because even in the kitchen scenario, it was accompanied by a level of stress. So there's a level of stress that was there, and then that heat was the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the same thing when in or similar thing in what people call hangry, where they get to that point where they're so hungry that now they just everything is irritating and they get mad, and they get to that breaking point. I think there's certain levels of stress that once you add that extra stimuli or outside stimuli, it can cause you to act outside of your character. And I think whether you're no matter where you're at in your mental and individual development, man, I think there's a level of stress that'll get to everybody. And Like I said, if you're stressed out and it's a 95, 96-degree day, you know what I mean? Somebody do something, it might take you to the brink, you know what I mean? And or if you ain't eating all day, your blood sugar's all messed up, it might have you acting outside of character. But I do think it's definitely stress because a person that doesn't have any level of stress and it's just hot, they ain't trying to deal with no mess. They're just going home. You know what I mean? But there is some outside stimuli that I think uh, accompanies that stress that becomes a straw that breaks the camel's back.
But
Certainly.
what's the stress? Summer is the most fun season of the year. What kind of stress are people dealing with?
Summer's the most fun season of the year for those who have resources. Those who don't have resources, have you like especially if you live in a hot place where it's hot all the time and you ain't got no AC and you ain't got no money, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. Man, that level of stress will have you robbing your grandmother. So like it's not summer's a great time for those with resources, but those without resources, man, that's why they say in the hood, summertime is the killing season because folks is stressful. They stressed out. They don't have the resources, and they trying to figure out how to get it. And everybody outside, so everybody can get it.
So
I
so so could that be the most problem? Like not everybody outside now. In the fall and the winter, spring ain't too many people outside. So now being the summer, more people outside. Now you got more attitudes clashing. You know what I'm saying? You get to see your out. You get to see your enemy now because
I
everybody outside
mean, I think hot and broke is a heck of a combination though. Like you know what I mean? Like when
now.
you
Man,
hot and broke, you know. And then now we got social media. Now we're like Instagram free, so you can be following everybody who's like splashing at pool parties. They having their barbecues and cookouts, and you don't got it. Ooh, you know what I mean? That's yeah.
but
That's
that seeing that wouldn't make. I've been broke in the summer and the winter. Okay,
yeah.
so seeing somebody at a pool party on Instagram or whatever don't make me want to go kill nobody. It made me want to get my money right. You know what I'm saying? So I
Not
can
if you
have money
can't
to show.
go. You don't got no solutions. Then what?
Solutions for what?
And then I mean, but then again, Mo already said it. The well what you call them? The well rounded or something people
Well adjusted, yeah, well
well
adjusted people don't
adjusted.
think like that, but yeah.
So it's kind of like, and that's what I was going back to. Everybody not well adjusted. You know, everybody don't have so called common sense, and you never know who's ready to really crash out at any given moment. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what they dealing with on the brink of their last. So it's just one of those things. I know if I don't got no bread and everybody at a pool party, that's like, dang, well, how can I get there? You know what I mean? So
So you ain't got no bread. Everybody at the pool party. So your mind is
I'm
I'm
well adjusted to a degree. So nah, but I'm just saying that I could imagine, I could see somebody who's not well adjusted. You know what I'm saying? Who might take offense to everybody got it, and when is it my turn? And they're tired of waiting.
I'm dead. When is it my turn, huh? The man rapper, huh? When is it my turn? You just hating on everybody. Dang, it's tough out here.
With that said, though, there's other news out here, man. What do y'all think about this whole? So we've avoided this specifically. You know what I'm saying? We never really got into it. Now that we're here at the end of this Diddy trial, right? It's time to get some thoughts, man, because there was a lot put into making him a convicted man. You know what I'm saying? Like how many documentaries? Well, we counted like four different documentaries on trying to, crucify. I didn't watch any of them, but you would just on Tubi. There's two on Prime. There was one. I'm like, yo, what is all these documentaries about who he is? And then we actually get to a trial. Well, that's before everything kind of unleashed. But then you get to the point where everything is unleashed, and we had a verdict. What do you think? What do you think all this has done to his reputation at this point? What you got, Lee?
I don't know if it has done anything for his reputation wholly because I think there were allegations and suspicions and things that have been going around for at least the last 20 years. So when, with this stuff coming out and with some of these things, there were people who were instantly, saying guilty, 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 without any evidence, without any anything other than the video with Cassie, which was okay. He's a member of the Slapaho tribe, but it didn't have nothing to do with that video. Didn't show any sex trafficking. It didn't show any, racketeering. It didn't show any of that. It just saw them. It just showed domestic violence between the couple. So if he's guilty of something, okay, we got him on video for that. But everything else they was trying to charge him with, we had no evidence of any of that. You know what I mean? We knew he was freak nasty. You know what I mean? We didn't need bottles of baby oil to find that out. We knew dude was nasty. You know what I mean? So it was like, I don't know that the
How
perception
do you know he was
is
nasty?
man. You ain't hear the rumors over the years that you know what I
Uh,
mean. Like just the rumors over the years
no,
with
I
him
mean I didn't hear about
no,
him
but
being
liking
nasty.
dudes too, like liking dudes too. You know what I mean? Like in the sense of like being like a swinger. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
nasty in that regard, and then having those everybody talk about the parties after the party after the party. You know, the second after party and ain't everybody ain't invited. Oh, okay, we know the writing on the wall. You know what I mean. So my thing is just like there was speculation out there of things that could have been going on. Did we have any evidence? No, but they probably all had to sign NDAs when they went in them rooms. You know what I mean. So we don't have any direct evidence of anything, but there was speculation out there. So I don't know that his reputation is damaged amongst his fans. Now, amongst people who already didn't like him, they already didn't like him. So it was what it was. You know what I mean? But I think everybody knew what he was, everybody knew who he was, and they were still rocking with him. So I think there are a lot of people who, like I argue with a couple of my coworkers about it all the time because they're like, you still listen to Diddy music and the stuff that he produced after what he did. You have a daughter. You should be ashamed. And I'm like, first of all, I can separate the artist from his acts, from his personal life. Like that ain't got nothing to do with that. Secondarily, I'm not over here overly treating Cassie as a victim, because there were a lot of reports, especially from a lot of the what the sex workers, the escorts, and that that said that she was planning a lot of this stuff and that she was doing a lot of. So it's like, okay, there may have been a time where she was a victim. You know what I mean? But at what point did she change from being victimized to victimizing others? And then does that still mean that you're a victim while you're victimizing others? So it's just it's a hard thing for me to be able to grasp and be like, okay, I feel so bad for her, you know, over the decisions that she made. You know what I mean? Like she made these decisions and she said, this is where I want to be. This is the lifestyle I want to have. And even to the point where she was loving to have the freak off. So it's hard for me because I'm not in the inner circle, so I don't know the inner workings of everything going on. He did get her when she was young. She might have been impressionable, but she also knew what type of lifestyle she wanted to have. She wanted to be in the lifestyles of the rich and famous. She was dealing with what that dude Ryan Leslie, and then saw Diddy as a come up and was like, "Whoop, see you, Ryan," and she went to mess with Diddy. So you know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to be able to do that. I feel bad for her for the things that I did see that he did, and I'm sure there might have been some give and take in some of that. But yeah, it's hard for me to be able to just see her only as a victim when she also victimized other people. So I don't think that his his reputation is going to be fully tarnished. We still haven't seen the sentence. They might give him 5 years. They might give him 10 years. They might say time served. We don't know what's going to happen when the sentencing, because I think the sentencing is in October. So we don't know what's going to happen. What they have left over. So
So he's still sitting,
we got to
right?
wait and see. Yeah, and they said they denied his bail. He got to sit in jail till October.
Mm.
So by October he'll be in jail over a year. They might say time served and get him up out of there because he got found not guilty of all the major charges. He only got found guilty of the lesser charges. So
What you got, Smooth? What you think this did for like the music industry as a whole and the allegations? Like, it's not the fall of Diddy, right? So, I mean, what do you think this means for not only him but the whole music industry and the allegations that we think that the music industry is about?
First of all, I just want to give a praises to the Most High that my name wasn't brought up in none of this. Okay, I mean, but I don't think it's going to damage his reputation, man. I think he's going to come out of this stronger than ever. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I got personal opinions on that, but I'm gonna hold that to myself right now. I think this, honestly, man, this might be the best thing for him, man. Not, I mean, I hate the actions he did to get to this, man, but he gonna reinvent himself, man. Cause he was Puff, he was Brother Love, he was Diddy, you know what I'm saying? But like this new cat that he gonna become when he come out of this, it's gonna be the one that it's gonna be the money maker, dog. This gonna be the one, man. Trust me.
You think a new Doctor Doom is going to come out of this?
Yeah, man, the dude been reinventing himself since day one. What you shaking your head for, Leafy? What you saying? No.
I don't know. I mean, to me, this is kind of like he better learn from OJ. Go sit down somewhere.
OJ messed up. Oh, watch this. If R. Kelly was out of jail still making music, would y'all still listen to R. Kelly?
Who said I don't listen to R. Kelly now?
Nah, I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
booty, your booty.
I haven't listened to R. Kelly in a minute, but that's just not my genre, to be honest. But even still, though, it's. I mean, I think I think Diddy should take lessons. I mean, yeah, take lessons from OJ. You know what I mean? OJ beat his case. He should have sat down somewhere because now they after. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You know what
I
I'm
don't think
saying?
this is the same thing though. I don't necessarily quite think this is the
And I
same
don't think
thing.
if Diddy come out and just start doing music again, right, producing whatever, right. Unlike what OJ did, OJ was cool for a minute till he found out who had his stuff, and then he kind of went to the left field. So if Diddy just come out and do music, man, I mean, what can you hold against him? I'm like Leafer, man. You got to separate the man from the art. You know what I'm saying?
I just feel like so much went into this though, right? Like a lot went into putting him in jail, raiding his crib, the baby. A lot of money and effort went into bringing him to this point, and for him to like not get convicted of the worst of the worst. Like, come on, man. Like, y'all know, like the FBI don't really mess up.
So
You know,
so so could it be that they did all that to cause a distraction because they did some other stuff?
it could be,
Because
but I
it's
just think too.
because
It's too much.
Or
around the same time he get charges get dropped and his big beautiful bill passed. You know what I'm saying? So could have been
I think
something going on with that.
that's too big. That's too big to say this was a distraction. I think because they're all massive news events. So if it was going to be a distraction, then those are two distractions to had a bunch of other distractions that they really don't want us to see because those are two huge things. Anything Trump does is going to be headline news. There's nothing secretive about how Trump moves. What you got, Mo?
I've been waiting so long to get this one off. Um, I really believe in conspiracy theory or not. I really believe, man, he has some very powerful enemies, man. Um, and I believe as soon as he went against Diageo, who really made him, that big money. That was really how he became a billionaire, not necessarily from music and entertainment. It was from that liquor agreement that he had with Ciroc, with Diageo and them. I'll say once he went against them, I believe that's what set all this in motion. He had some very powerful enemies. Because just look at the slander that he received. I mean, they raided his house for baby oil. Like, we're having RICO charges for freak offs. And I was like, man, and think about it. You heard everything from, oh, he was running drugs into baby oil. At least I did. I heard, oh, the baby oil was laced with something to incapacitate you, and then there was kids involved. None of that came out in court. You know what I mean? Like, and then, furthermore, when it came to the actual charges and stuff like that, so he didn't get the most. He didn't get the most serious charges, which were racketeering and stuff like that. And then he even got the Mike Vick treatment, where with the stuff that he did get found guilty of, it was the whole interstate commerce thing again. But even in that, from what I read, it didn't really seem to be interstate commerce because it was all local. Because all the escorts that he was using, they were local to their city, so he never transported them across state lines. They would reach out to them when they were in that city. So okay, maybe if it was prostitution, but it's not interstate, and it would only be a state charge if you didn't have that component of going from state to state. So I just feel he had some very powerful enemies, and they were out to get him. And I think the powerful allies that he used to have, within the tiny hat community and stuff like that, they stepped away from him. And that's because that's who probably used to protect him. And I think he no longer has that protection. So no, I don't think he'll be as big as he ever was or bigger, because he's made some very powerful enemies and he lost some very powerful allies. So no, if if Vic exactly what Vic was saying, he need to go sit down somewhere and be cool, because they gonna try to get him. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't over. They gonna want to get him one way or another.
I mean,
So
the
yeah,
next
so
thing to
stay
do
tuned.
is make him crazy, and I mean, yeah, the next thing to do is make him crazy and
And that's
kill
the
him.
playbook.
Yeah, like
Yep,
so
that's the
if he
playbook.
end up
Yep,
being crazy and overdosing, that's the play. Crazy and he overdose. Oh, that
that's the playbook.
he
Yep,
ended up he was in jail, ended up on crack, or he was in jail or K2 or
right.
something, one of them jail drugs,
Yep,
and he got addicted to that.
Demonize, discredit, destroy, and
that's the playbook.
that's the playbook. That's the playbook. But what I was
So I
gonna
mean,
say
but
is,
here's the thing though, he been screaming support black, or they trying to, but he's been doing such wild stuff that it's hard to believe him. It's hard to come to believe him or come to his aid when you acting, and like when you say I'm in trouble, and then but you're doing all this wild stuff on the side. Like his character, like you said, has
What you
been
mean?
tainted. Like
hold
just
up.
as far as so
Like, as far as
how
what
could
he's
I
doing
say?
in the bedroom?
Not even just in the bedroom. Like when you hear the stories about, well, everybody coming out about making the band stuff. But when you say, yeah, walk across the bridge and get me some Cambodian breast milk, or
Yeah,
like his character's always been like, wow, you know what I'm saying? So it's like not wild in like a killer bad way, but wild in he started out, oh, I put my foot up on the desk and at LaFace Records, and they kicked me out. And that's what made me like, so he's always had that persona of, man, dude be doing them like what's his name? Dude for the Bulls, like a Dennis Rodman persona,
mm.
where he's strange, but he does what he wants. You understand what I'm saying? You just kind of accept it like he's a rock star, but he's strange at the same time. Like you can't say that Diddy's not strange black. He's not regular black. He's strange.
I,
Diddy
I don't
is
even know whose
that
turn it
type
is,
of
but
he's
like,
he's privileged black. I don't know about a term, but he's privileged black. So he's the what black freedom looks like. You know what I mean? When you have a level of freedom where you just do whatever you want. You feel like a rock star. You know what I mean? You could do whatever you want. That's why it feels weird because you know we feel so structured. It's just like, okay, we can't do that or we gonna look corny, or we can't do that or we gonna look played, or we can't do that. And he just do whatever he want to because he's in a space where he's like, I'm protected over here, got my cash over here, and he can just do whatever he want. He be looking like real suspect a lot of times, but everybody just chalks it up as that's Diddy. You know what I mean? But let
He's
me
been
hit you with this
suspect
real quick.
even from his
Let me
art
hit you with this
though.
real quick.
Did you say
His,
black freedom?
Yeah,
his art has
yeah.
been always
But it locked
raunchy or
his ass
good
up. So
or
is that
that
really black freedom?
suspect.
They locked him up now, but we're just talking about what he looks like, man. I mean, how he's been
yeah,
operating
he
for
had
the
a
last
30-year run of doing whatever he
30
wanted.
years. For 20, 30 years, he's just been doing whatever he's been doing with that whack ass dance he be doing, and he got and you know what I mean, those shiny suits and stuff. He been real whack for a long time, but
He
he
didn't
been
lock,
living in his truth.
he didn't get locked up for stuff he did 6 months ago. So apparently he wasn't doing what he wanted to do for 20, 30 years. They've been watching this cat. You know what I'm saying?
They ain't been watching him. They've been doing it with him, and that was the point I was trying to talk. That was trying to say is that they didn't raid his house trying to look for to find all the baby oil and trying to find evidence. I think, and I'm going into my conspiracy theory bag. I think they raided his house for discriminating evidence that had folks in power in it, and they went and they got some of them tapes and stuff
I'm,
on there
hey,
that
and I'm
it could have been FBI agents on there. There could have been there could have been senators. There could have been
I'm with you
ex
on that.
presidents. There could have been everything. And they went in there to go get that stuff. And
I
they
agree with
came
you.
up with. They said they got baby oil, but they didn't got all that stuff. Because if they didn't get all that, I'm looking at this at the same time while I'm seeing. Oh, they talking about they didn't find any of these so-called files on Epstein, and they didn't find like there's too many coincidences here where oh no, it ain't find no evidence of nothing. Nah, there were some prominent people in some of these things, and they wasn't trying to get caught. So I just feel like they found what they wanted to find in there. And but they had to arrest him and they had to go through whatever they had to go through the process in order for them to get their evidence out, the evidence that they was at some of this stuff in there. Because it's known, they said Diddy he recorded everything, every encounter at every party, everywhere. He had it taped. You know what I mean? So he probably got all kind of people on that stuff, and they ain't want to get caught up if that stuff ever got out, and they didn't want to hung over their head. You know what I mean? As leverage doing all of this stuff. So that's what I think. I think they ran up in there and they got some of that incriminating evidence out of there.
Leafa, how much money is going to take you to get freaky like Diddy?
What? What kind of
Man,
question?
as much as it takes to buy six cases of baby oil. You know, six cases of baby oil is all I need and a slip and slide, and we getting it on.
Wait a minute. What? Did you understand my question?
No, I don't think he did, dog. Lever gonna stay his tail in the house.
You just tripping, man.
You already know I'm
But I
geeked
mean,
Mo,
out.
like,
Mo, Mo, you
but
hit that
Buddy
lick?
is weird. Like having the big bed in his backyard, like that's weird. You know, falling off the bike just randomly, like in the videos, that's weird. The shiny suits was weird. His music's been his own albums. They're all like popish. They're weird. Dude's been weird, man. Like so when they're saying it's easy to put him in a light of y'all know he's weird. Don't be surprised when we say XYZ about him. But I hate to like falsely, incriminate him or whatever. But I guess you got to show some type of normacy. I guess I'm gonna try to say, for lack of better words, for people to believe you, and then you can't be the crazy bum at the gate and expect and you're telling everybody that the end of the world is coming and we're gonna believe you. We're not. This looks crazy. You screaming at the end of the gate. You know what I'm saying? Like, have y'all ever stopped and talked to one of the downtown workers or downtown Christians that be like, "Yeah, you need to hurry up and accept Christ because the end of the world." Have y'all ever stopped to talk to any of them? Now you know in the back of their head, like
I
you might be,
have,
you would.
I have certainly. I debate them all the time on the Bible, especially the Jehovah's Witness ones that be downtown. I
That's
debate them all
different. I'm
the time.
talking about the dude screaming on the corner though. Them
Oh,
people come in
you
your
talking
house.
about the Black Israelites? Is that those
No, I'm
ones you
talking
talking
about the
about?
dude screaming the end of the world
No.
downtown.
So I just saw them.
Oh,
So
on the
I was in
megaphone? On
Vegas
the
for the past
megaphone?
6 days. I just saw all of them. Yup, they was
Yeah,
going
yeah.
in, and I'm like, so in Vegas
Hebrew
they was
Israelites
going
in
in. So
Vegas.
like I was avoiding them. What's that?
Hebrew Israelites are in Vegas, or are you talking about the end of the world
No,
guys?
yeah, they weren't Hebrew Israelites. No, it was just the end of the world's coming. Hey,
Yeah,
you run out of time. Make sure you repent. And here's the thing. So no, you don't. You just assume that they're crazy or whatever. But in this world, in this society, what happens is if you got the cash, one, you can make people bend no morals. And if you have opportunity and you can allow people to do what they want to do or have the hope to do what they want to do, they're willing to do almost anything. And I think that's the difference. If those people were out on the corner and they had, let's say for whatever reason, they were backed by some evil billionaire. They were, if you were to listen to them, they would hand out hundreds of thousands of dollars. I bet you more people would interact with them. That's what it's all about, man. In our society, people are willing to bend and dismiss their morals for capital. And that's really how Diddy got away with this for so long. He had the power, he had the influence, and he had the money to be able to make people turn a blind eye to things or be willing to do certain things that they wouldn't normally do just because they wanted the opportunity, they wanted a little piece of that life. Like how y'all was talking about Cassie, like, you ain't no victim for 10 years. Like, at some point, you're a willing participant. You know what I mean? And not only that, like, I mean, she was threatening people too. Like, if anything, you should have been a co-defendant. You know what I mean? So I just think it's one of those things to where, especially in our society, man, when it comes to opportunity and finances and stuff like that, people will one, turn a blind eye. And matter of fact, I even heard a quote recently. It was by, I guess, dudes like the Prince of France or something like that. And it was like, they was on some stream. And they was like, well, give me one last quote. And he said, his last quote was, "Big money never comes clean." And I was like, oh, and that's exactly what it is. Like, what, that's what they say. They say every fortune has a great crime at its origin story. So that's just what it is, man. Well, so he wouldn't have had to go through this because he was trying to stop all this because he saw where this was going to go. So, for example, and everybody always talks about the domestic violence thing. So the statute of limitation was up. So that was all they could do was go after his pockets. So now here's the thing. So she got 10 million from Diddy, but she also got 10 million from the hotel because there was like a cover up. You know what I mean? He paid some folks off so to get the tape and blah, blah, blah. So that's the part that, like, he was never going to jail for that anyway. And so a lot of people are attributing the stuff that he did get found guilty of. Oh, well, it was the court of common opinion. No, it was just, they had to get him on something and this is what they did. But no, not at all. I don't think that any of this has to do with, him being weird or whatever. He's just out here living. Like, what is normal? You know what I mean? I guess at this point. But the biggest thing is people are willing to put their morals to the side or willing to put up with a whole lot more and turn a blind eye to it for the opportunity to get money, opportunity, power, influence. Hell, at this point, it might not have been the case back in the day, but man, just for clout, people just do it for clout now. So that's the biggest thing that I think we really have to, we're trying to prosecute morality, but that's not what the law is. What I mean?
Do you think that black people have lost normacy, like a normal social behavior?
Black people?
Yeah.
I was going to say society as a whole, but I will say that
I'm only saying black people because we were the normal ones, right? There was things that we just don't do. You understand what I'm saying? So
now here's what I'll say. So okay, so I'll hit it from that angle then. So we were the moral fiber of this country, right? And you guys will appreciate this. The thing that I think is what happened is black people moved away from the church. That's the biggest thing. Like, because like the stuff that I see now, like, I'm like, golly. And I'm not even the most religious and all that, but I'm like, this just ain't right. Like, I mean, like, think about it. Like, how many times, if you want to take a good picture as a female, wouldn't you think that you want them to see your face? And you know what I mean? Like, they're turning around. And I was like, this is OnlyFans. This is prostitution. Like back, what's the other one? It was Backpage. Like, this is some Backpage stuff. Like, when you go to send a picture out to the world, you're turning around. Like, I tell my daughter all the time, like, if I ever catch you doing that, smoking the city, I'm like, no, if it's social media and you want them to see your face, you shouldn't be turning around to the camera. I'm like, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we have lost our morality. And I think we talked about this a long time ago when we were talking about like Trump coming to office and they were like, and y'all were saying like, this is a vote for morality. And at the time I was against it, but I think you guys are onto something, man. Like, we have lost our morality. And where I was going with that was with Carnival Cruise. Like, they had to come out with all these rules. It's just like public decency, like rules. Like, you can't be fighting. You can't be, you know what I mean? Like, just the wildest thing. Like, I'm like, what is this, Sodom and Gomorrah? Like, this is crazy. Like, stuff that generally people would do just out of common decency. We have lost all shame.
Mm.
And I
As
think we're
black
at the
people,
forefront of it. Yeah,
mm.
we're at the forefront of it. Like, we have lost all shame. Now, granted, I think, and like I remember I said this a long time ago, like,
Who want to
there
live in
may be
shame
come a
though?
time.
Who wants
What's
to
said
live in that?
again?
Who wants to live in shame?
I
Like
mean,
nobody wants to be feel all shameful just for living.
well, don't embarrass yourself. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying you have to live in it, but don't do anything that's just so embarrassing and just so degrading.
But if
And I think that's the
everybody
biggest
around
thing.
you doing it, it ain't embarrassing. It's like poor people don't know they poor because everybody around them poor. You know what I'm saying? They don't know they
Mm-hmm.
poor till they go
Mm-hmm.
see people with money. So if everybody
Yeah.
doing embarrassing stuff that might be embarrassing to us, you know what I'm saying? But if they whole community or side of town doing it, it's not embarrassing to them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That does
Like, think
not make
about
it
it.
right.
Well, it's not everywhere.
No, no, no.
Right.
It don't
He
make it
didn't
right.
say right. He just said it's the norm. It becomes the norm. So, like in
So
Atlanta,
don't
man, they
nobody
came up
got a
with these new
TV.
laws. So they
Nobody got
came
a
up with these
You
new
TV.
know,
norms, like you can't wear
so
you
should
can't wear
you
a
feel?
shiesty.
Hold up, they all got TVs, but they own the BS. They own Bad Girls Club where they fighting and drinking and doing dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? So if they're seeing the stupidity on TV, they're doing the stupidity in real life. You know what I'm saying?
I, I agree. I'm still stuck on it. We have no shame. Like I don't think that's the way. Um, that's like a scare tactic. Like you know what I mean. Like I shouldn't be ashamed. I should have some like I don't like I should have some morality, but I shouldn't be ashamed of living the life I would like to live. You know what I'm saying? Or but some morality should go into I shouldn't want to be a hoe. I shouldn't want to be a drug dealer. I shouldn't want to be a bad person. You know what I'm saying? But
So I'm gonna push back.
I shouldn't have to feel shame for being these things either.
I got to push back a little bit because, like, I remember, like if it, like, through the teachings in church and stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. If it wasn't for some fear or some shame, I'd be doing a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and I even gave you out a quote before. Like, man, if you're living like there ain't no God, you better be right. Like, there's a bunch of stuff I just don't do because I'm like, I
So
don't
I
want to be at
rather
them
I
gates.
think it's integrity. I rather have integrity about myself than for it to be shameful. Yeah, I'm trying to find a balance. You know what I'm saying? Where I shouldn't feel shameful for anything I'm doing, but my integrity alone should prevent me from doing things and that are inappropriate.
So I think the leaders of the world, going back generations and generations, King, the King James version, they knew this. They knew there had to be some fire and brimstone in here to scare these people into compliance. Just integrity is not enough. You know what I mean?
But
Like, and
neither
think
is
about it.
shame either.
It worked for a long time. It worked for a
I
long
don't think it
time.
was shame. I don't think it was
Well, it
shame.
was fear. If it wasn't
It
shame, it
was
was fear.
I would say fear, yes, but not
Yep.
shame. Like
No,
I
no,
think
no,
fear
no, 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 no,
is a
no,
good
no.
reason, but well, go ahead.
I think so. There's both, right? Because even when most people talk about God, they say I'm God fearing. I'm God fearing, right? So fear is an aspect of it, right? Because it 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 allows you to respect the situation. So you'll be like, oh man, I shouldn't do that. And maybe I shouldn't do that because XYZ can happen. But then the shame, like the shame aspect is something that is prevalent in a lot of cultures. Because folks dang near get exiled from their families for certain stuff. You know what I mean? So there was like shame was a real thing because you couldn't do certain things. Certain things was looked down upon. Like people would turn their back on you seriously. But even in our community, man, there were certain things that just you know like the women held the girls accountable, and the men were supposed to hold the boys accountable in our community. We know what happened from the 80s and early 90s even to the late 90s with the men. The men weren't there to hold the boys accountable, and the women were left. to hold a lot of the girls and the boys
You
accountable.
just going to
Which
say the men weren't there? I'm not
the
just going to
the
say the men weren't
and,
there. The men
and,
were forcibly kicked out.
some were, not all. Some were. Some chose not to be there, and some made a decision to do drugs. These were decisions. These were
Uh,
decisions.
I
These were
can't.
decisions. Now, if you want to
Don't
talk about
don't say
no no,
chose to do, don't say chose to do drugs because I mean
so
it
if you go and buy drugs, if you go and buy drugs as a grown ass man, that's not a decision.
I
No,
Now, if
mean
somebody spiked your shit, you were
no.
smoking weed and somebody threw
I
some
listen.
angel
I'm
dust in your shit, then that's
addicted.
when,
one
I'm
thing.
when
But
addicted
that
if you
to
crack
the
went
drugs.
and
Do you
got it,
understand addiction? You understand addiction,
if you
right?
went but addiction starts somewhere. Addiction starts with choice.
yeah through the
Addiction,
crack
you
epidemic,
can't
but
get addicted to something
nobody
you've
knew
never
that.
tried.
No,
What I'm
Man,
saying is, you
addiction,
can't
no
get
matter what
addicted
it
to
might
something
be,
you never
you
tried.
but it could be about porn too. Porn could be one of those. It's just as bad as a drug.
And, and that's fine.
It could be
I'm
about
not saying
lot of
that.
different things.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it all starts with a choice. You don't get addicted to something you've never done. You ain't never, if you never did it, you can't get addicted to it.
but
But
And if you know
I'm
you can
saying
get
those
addicted
porn
to it,
things can't
a
take
that's
lot
why,
of addiction.
that's why I
not
never
only trying to
smoked
take
crack.
you down.
Because I was like, I fuck around and might like it. And then it's a problem. You
No,
know what I'm saying?
you
So
never
I
smoked
made
crack
a
because you
choice.
seen
I
you
made a choice not to do it.
you never
I made a
smoked crack
choice not to
because
do
you
it.
know what it do what it did to people. Like the when that crack epidemic hit, they didn't know what crack was gonna do to us. You know what I'm saying? And people just doing it. They were smoking weed, doing acid. They just started smoking crack and never knowing that it was gonna be such addictive as it was. See what I'm saying?
No, I
I
understand
gotta
that.
agree
I
because
know people who smoke crack. I know people who smoke crack once or twice and they never did it again. And then I know people who smoke crack and they've been crackheads for 30 years. Regardless of that, I
How
knew
do you know
that
so many crackheads?
I, I know so many crackheads. Matt, I mean, where I came from, man, there's just a lot of crackheads. That's just it. Where I came from,
They
there's
just
a
like
lot
the
of
way it
crackheads.
smell, huh? They just like the smell of it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I made a decision. I said, you know what? I'm not smoking crack because I could become a crackhead. I'm not smoking crack because I might like it. And that's a problem. Because then I'll never quit. So you know what I mean? So that was like that's the reason why I made a decision. So what I'm saying is every addiction starts with a decision. So that's what I'm saying. Somebody made a decision to do it, whatever it was, and whether it was to try it or whatever. And I know there are outliers for people who, might have been smoking some weed and they were with somebody they trusted and they laced the weed with some stuff. And now, down on the line, they hooked on some stuff they didn't mean to. But what I'm saying is some of that stuff started with a choice. Some of it was people who didn't want to be there and opted out, or it was just like a one night stand. And then up out of that one night stand, Shorty got pregnant. She decided she wanted to keep it. He wasn't around. For whatever reason, the 80s and 90s, there were men that weren't around. They weren't in the house. You could say there was a systematic approach. You could say there was a decision. You could say it was drug. You could say it was jail. You could say it was whatever. For the 80s and 90s, the men weren't around to raise the boys and the men. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking. There was a disconnect there.
I
So
agree, but
that's
I just
so
ain't
so
like how you worded it, man. It sounded real feminist.
You ain't
no,
like my
but
tone. I don't give a dang because we're gonna listen to it.
so here's what I'm gonna say about that. Like, because I'm not saying Leafer's wrong, but I think that's part of what goes on in our community, say in the black community. Accountability seems to only be one sided. So the fact that the men weren't there, I, I think that's only part of the problem. Another part of it is that the women were choosing men who they knew weren't going to be there. They were choosing drug dealers. They were choosing habitual
Absolutely,
baby fathers. Like,
absolutely,
and I think that's
absolutely.
the part that we never talk about in the community. It's like we got this queen
We
mother
talk
simp shit.
about it. We talk about it. People don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
We talk
like
about it.
that's
It
the
doesn't. It doesn't stick.
yup, and I
Man,
think that's
hey,
the problem.
I tell females all the time, if you wasn't raped, you can't talk shit about your baby father. You chose this man. You know what I'm saying? The only
So
reason
and I only be half joking, but what they say, every joke has a little bit of truth to it. I'm like, man, if I was ever in your mouth, you can't down talk me. So, but it's just one of those things, like People had multiple children with the same person and then be like, he's a deadbeat. You're a bad chooser then. Like, what are you talking about? Like, when he didn't take care of the first one, you didn't be like, I shouldn't do this again. Like, you're just as bad. You just have a different addiction. Like, your addiction is choosing poor men versus liking the way crack smells. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I think that's the problem in our society is we only, if we want to have any accountability, it's usually only one-sided. Like,
You
the
really
fact that
think
we're
women
making
got the
Cassie out
ability
to
to
be
not choose a bad man?
yes, absolutely.
No, they don't. They
You
don't.
capping. You
They don't
capping.
have the
You
ability not
see,
to.
see, you capping.
Hold on, hold
I'm
on,
not
no.
capping.
Vic, what was your question? What you just say?
Women don't have the ability to turn down a smooth talking dude. They don't. They can't. They can't. They can't.
No, and Mo, you disagree with him?
Absolutely.
Man, I've ruined lives, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, and that's the problem. And, like, and they had a choice. Like, you see, and that's the thing. So, and I talk about this all the time. Like, I'm like, to be fair, like when I was watching this Diddy trial, I was like, ooh, you know what I mean? I'm like thinking back into some episodes I had. I'm like, and the fact that you can have retroactively rescinded consent is scary. You know what I mean? Somebody.
That's what we didn't even talk. We didn't even get into that.
Like, that's the scary part to me. Somebody come back and, you know, like, let's say maybe they slept with you in order to try to get something out of you, whether it be money or opportunity or whatever, and it didn't go their way. So I'll come back 5 years later and be like, hey, he did this to me. He took something from me. And that's a way to get a certain level of retribution, whether it be financially or just punishment for things not going your way. Nah, I'm telling you, man, like we need to, like, and we talk about this all the time. Like, man, we need to start holding grown-ups accountable for grown-up acts. Like, women
women and men are different though. Women and men are different, and just because they're grown, don't know.
We literally fight for. They've been fighting for equality for the last 50 years. Now they get it.
I was gonna say that. They want to be
equal. They've been fighting, and kids can't wait to be grown. You know what I'm saying? Until they become adults and be like, oh, I want to be a kid again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hold women and men to the same light. You can't. You just can't.
You can't open Pandora's box and then want to close it again. Stop pacifying these motherfuckers. If they want to be equal, then they are treated equal.
I'm not
It's simple as
pacifying,
that.
but I'm
Yeah, you are though.
I'm
But
not,
you are.
I'm not,
Every time you say this, every time you say stuff like,
this is how
you
these
can't
cases
treat them
come
the
up.
same. You can't treat them the same. But
You
at the
can't.
same time, they want to be treated the same. They
But
say,
you see what happens though when we treat them the
I
same.
know,
We
but
end
that's
up getting
because
received.
we're not holding them accountable to what they say. We're not holding them accountable. Oh, you say you want it? Okay, well, this is what it takes. And this is what the follow through is going to be. And these are the repercussions. We're
And then
not
they be like,
holding them
I want a rape
accountable.
case.
We're giving them the pass. We're giving them the pass.
Hey,
You acting like you're scared. Now you acting scared. They said they
It's not
wanted it,
scared,
then
but
hold them accountable.
that's what's
Hold them
happening to us.
accountable.
That's what's happening to men, right? Like Mo said, they were like,
They
"Oh,
start
I took
recording everything like
everything out of
Diddy.
you.
You
Well, I'm
got
gonna
to
say you
record
take this out
everything
of me."
like Diddy.
Say that again.
You got to record everything like Diddy, and then they can't go back on it. You got them on tape. They
So if
said they want it.
you're
This is what it
recording
is.
everything like Diddy, that means you're taking over precautions, knowing that you can't treat everybody the same, and you need some sense of security.
Regardless of what I
You
know,
gotta watch. You gotta
I
extra watch
understand.
yourself because you
What I'm
can't take
saying is
another woman's
they
word for
said
it.
it, so they have to be held accountable to it. That's all I'm saying. We got to be held accountable to our word. So if you say you want to be like us and have what we have, then
So
guess what?
the
You have to
question
be
ain't
held
us. Though. The
accountable.
question is, why don't the law hold them to accountability? That's the question. Why aren't they held
Because the
accountable
law,
by the law?
but
because they
because in
haven't
the
caught
eyes
up.
of
They
the
haven't
law,
caught up with our
they're made
society
to
yet.
protect the men. They're made to protect the women and children. That's in the
Law, yep,
eyes. That's in
Well,
the
why?
eyes of society.
Well,
because
why?
Protect the
the
women and
law hasn't
children.
caught up with
The
society
world's been
yet.
going on for millions of years, right? So, if we get to a point where we're making laws, that's because they know that, okay, over millions of years, women cannot be accountable for certain stuff. So they put laws to protect them. Why? Because they cannot
So
protect themselves.
so the
Thousands of
law has
years.
not
For
caught up with
thousands of years,
society
there's
yet.
been laws, but it hasn't caught up. Even though The women's suffrage started what in the 70s. They started fighting for it and
But I'm
started
just saying,
getting
there's been men and
stuff.
women on the planet, right? And when we get to a point of making laws, why are the laws to protect the women and children? Because
because they're
they
weaker
can't,
vessels. Yeah, because they're weaker vessels. But
not
these
not only
civilized societies,
physically but mentally as well.
But you can't tell them that though.
Uh,
I
I
don't say
mean,
I
I
don't
don't
say
Because
know.
nothing.
even
No, no,
Go
no.
lives
ask.
matter.
And
I don't know.
I
I
told
don't
that brother
know
too, Vic. You know
because
what I'm
I
saying?
think they're emotionally stronger than we are. They're
So
emotionally stronger than we are.
What?
you
They
said
handle way more stuff emotionally than we handle. If we have to deal with any of those emotions
Never
without
have I
brute
ever.
force,
this,
that
hey,
we have to,
do
that we
you
have
know
to actually deal with it hands on, and we will crumble in a lot of those cases, man. We
Never
don't
have
listen
deal
I
with those
ever.
emotions.
on your
Yeah,
last
because you
statement?
don't ever, dog. You get mad, you get
Never
sad,
have I ever
you
met a
get
woman.
happy, you
Never have I
attack.
ever met a woman who can handle the emotional strain that I couldn't handle for her. Never have I
Oh,
ever.
hey, here we go. Here we
Letha,
go.
Letha,
Yo,
Here
Letha.
we
You
go.
went to the feminist
Here we
box.
go.
You came out
You're
of
not
it. And
Right,
handling.
he
You're not.
went to the
You're not
feminist box
giving.
on us, right? Like
I'm not going to a feminist box. Well, listen. They are more emotional creatures. Now, I'm not saying that they have emotional
that on
intelligence. I'm not saying
right.
that they have. I'm not saying they live in this emotional state. We don't. They live in this emotional state. We don't. So what I'm saying is they have the capacity to deal with emotions more regularly
no, they
than we
No, they
can't.
do.
If
That's
they
all
don't.
I'm
live in an
saying.
emotional state,
It's
they can't deal. We can deal with it because we're not in the emotional state.
No, we don't. See, this is what I'm saying. We don't deal with emotions. We push emotions to the side, and we do what we need to do. Emotions aside, we get the job done. Fuck what I feel. We get the job done. They're locked into how they feel, and that's what I'm saying. They live in that daily,
so
regularly. We
they
don't.
can't handle it. They can't handle it without it. Like they don't know how to function and make the right decisions
You know
because they
what? You
live
know
in it.
what? When we
They're
go to,
not supposed to function the same way we are.
I
That you
agree.
said they're
But you
different,
can't
right?
hold them
You said they're
accountable.
different. So you hold them accountable, but you don't hold them accountable to as men.
You're
You hold them
contradicting yourself
accountable as
now.
women. You hold them accountable as women. You don't hold them
Look at
accountable as
Mo's
men.
face. What's that mean? What does that mean?
You don't hold them accountable as men.
he got
yeah,
gas
I was
again.
gonna say, what does that mean? Like, so, and here's the comparison that I'm making and this is what I hear. So we're saying they're gonna have all the responsibilities and all the privileges of an adult without the accountability, or a lesser version of accountability than a man. Well, why are we? That's like us giving a toddler scissors and letting them run around the house and being like, nothing will happen. Like, if we can't hold them accountable, we
That's
shouldn't be
not what I'm
giving
saying.
them these
That's not what I'm
these.
saying. We first of all, we're not giving them anything. We're not giving them anything. They're taking what they want to take, the responsibility that they want to have. And we as the men in our households, we are taking the responsibility. However, when we hold them accountable, what I'm saying we hold them accountable is to their word. What they say they want, what they say they're going to do. We hold them accountable to that. I'm not saying we hold them accountable to lead anything in a fashion that we're supposed to lead. I'm saying if they say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," we hold them accountable to that.
So you're going to
That's what
hold
I'm
them
saying.
accountable and knowing that they have cognitive dissonance, knowing that that's their primary trait, cognitive dissonance. You're going to hold them accountable to their word. Make that make sense.
If you don't hold them accountable, then basically what you're saying is that they can flip flop and do whatever they want
That's what
whenever
they
they want.
do.
And you have what I'm saying is with no expectation of anything of any repercussions, with no expectation. So you just expect them to not do what they're going to say and not do anything, and there's no repercussions behind it. What I'm saying is there needs to be repercussions behind that. That's what I'm saying.
Or well, okay. Are you married?
Yeah,
Who me?
Yeah, you.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I'm here.
So you said repercussions behind what? They ask. Dog, I've been married 14 years. I just stopped telling my wife shit. Cause I know if I tell you do this shit, you're not gonna do the fuck I need you to do. You know what I'm saying? Dog, I've been with her 14 years. When shit go wrong in her life, dog, it ain't never her fault. Never her fault. It's some people who ain't got that she may cross paths with, dog. That somebody she seen at the grocery store is their fault. You know what I'm saying? Dog, accountability to a woman, Hey man,
That sounds crazy.
I was
So, but
I was actually bragging on you about 3 weeks ago, though, and I've never physically met you. I like this dude here's intellectual. When we give him a subject, he'll just run off and just break it down, and have me fucked up in the head. You stupid, man. I'm just playing. I'm just playing, dog. I'm fucking with you, dog. I'm fucking with you, man.
Nah, I feel that. I feel that all the way. And maybe I am stupid in that regard. Because for me, I feel like if you say something and you say you want this, you say you want that, then cool. There needs to be a level of accountability there and a level of follow through.
But
Okay, you
lethal,
say you're gonna do this, you say you're gonna do
accountability,
that.
accountability to
I'm
a
not
woman.
trying to hear that. I'm not trying to hear that. What I'm saying is if you say you're gonna do this, whatever it is, XYZ, whatever it is, then there needs to be a level of follow through and a level of accountability.
Do, do, do,
And you
does,
got to be the one to hold them
does your
accountable
wife
to it.
have does your wife have accountability?
Absolutely not. But that's why I try to hold her to it.
Well,
She's not going to hold herself to it. She's
why
not going to hold herself to it. I got
why
to
do
try
you
to hold her
think
to it.
So then what? When you hold her accountable, like you said you were gonna do X, Y, Z, and they look at you like, hey honey, let me rub your head a little bit. You know what I'm saying? They act a little sweeter when they know that I'm messed up. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
just
So
manipulation. That's just manipulation. And if
exactly,
you
they
fall
That,
just
for it, that's
manipulate
on
that,
you.
you.
that's manipulation. And right. And if you fall for that, then they going to keep doing that.
But
So
that's
what I'm
what do you
saying
want to
is,
do? Or I don't have the money, or I
Look,
I
I'm
messed
gonna
up,
tell you,
I
I'm gonna
blew
tell y'all
it.
how. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all how because I deal with it every day working in HR. You hold them accountable. Like, we don't have separate rules for men and women.
he
You
said
do something
HR?
well,
He
get
said
them
shit
out
about
of
his
there.
wife.
Look, get them out of there. Look, I'm telling you, you hold them accountable
it's
as
simple as
long as you're
that.
never good.
Stop saving the
Go ahead.
day. Stop
Yep.
saving the day. Oh, you come up short? Well, it's
Yep.
gonna be short until you figure it out.
Yep.
This was your responsibility to take care of. It's yours to take care of.
Yep.
Figure it out because I'm done saving the day. I've been saving the day for plenty of people, but yeah, wife included. Family included, everybody included. So at some point, you got to just say, hey, you know what? Figure it out. And that's the accountability piece. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, as long as you're willing to save the day, they're gonna continue to do what they're gonna do. And there ain't no accountability because they know you gonna save the day. And that's that.
But if you don't say today, how much stress and money does it cause you, and time wasted? Stress, money, and time does it cause you?
So stress now or stress later? Which one you want it? Because you're gonna
Yep.
have it. So which one
Sometimes
you
that
want it now
lesson
or
is
you want
worth
it
it.
later? So sometimes you gotta wait. Sometimes you gotta go through it now in order to be free later. Because if you don't go through it now, you're gonna have it later anyway. So you can go through it now, don't have it later, or don't go through it now, and you for sure gonna have it later.
Yeah,
So it is what it is, man.
and
So
look,
that's what I'm saying. There's a level of accountability that has to be set for, okay, this is what you want to do, no problem. I want you to do everything you want. I want you to enjoy everything you want to enjoy. But this is what comes with that. This is what comes with that. And there has to be a standard set. And if there's not a standard set, and listen, I'm not sitting here talking like there's a one size fits all thing. I'm saying that accountability has to be set for those who want who want to be in a situation to do whatever they want to do. You want to do whatever you want to do? Cool. It's cool. There's got to be accountability set.
hey man,
Hey,
I
it's a
think
hard pill to swallow, but I'm gonna swallow that pill every time, even if it takes time. I'm gonna swallow it every time
Yeah, you be
because
you
I
gonna
don't.
tell the story to your
what I'm gonna do
grandkids.
is,
Yeah, you got to
I'm,
make them feel accountable. They be like, well, what about grandma?
hey, they not,
As,
they
as
not.
long as I live to be 100 years
Don't be
old,
like
I'll
me.
I'll
Look,
keep
don't
doing
be
it.
like me.
You
Like,
want to live to be 100 and still paying bills? Look, I'm gonna take care of all this stress. Die 59 like a man. You know what I'm saying? And be up
I
out of
want
here,
to
man.
live. I want to live to be, man. If I could live to be as old as Methuselah, I want to live. I want to see my grandkids, my great grandkids, my great grandkids, my great grandkids. If I can, I'll live through it and
Dude, you
I'll
still
deal
gonna
with
be
it all.
paying bills at that age, man. Why do that?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. You got to pay the cost to be the boss, and I'm
don't
okay
sound
with
like
that.
it. Don't sound like the.
Man, Trump in office, man. You ain't have
Hey,
no social
hey,
security,
hey,
though.
hey. The boss has to know when to lean back and when to take
Oh man.
charge. You gotta know. You gotta know when it's your time.
Speaking of that, how do you feel about I know Leafer, you're about. I mean, Mo, you about to go through it as well. I think Smooth, you on the cusp of it as well, man. Your kids leaving the crib. How are y'all preparing for that?
Man,
All y'all are on the same spot on that.
she
Like,
just she's leaving. She got a report August 12th, Albany State. Um, man, I knew it was coming the day she was born. Am I cool with it? Honestly, man, as a father and my baby girl, nah, I'm not cool with it. But I know I gotta let her go. I gotta let her grow and you know what I'm saying, become a woman. And just hope that all the things, the time I spent with her and all the time I put in her, that you know, the knowledge I gave her, she gonna accept it. And I mean, shit, man. I have not, man. I have talked to my daughter, man. I know what $40 will do. You know what I'm saying? And I be trying to tell her, hey, baby, you ain't got to do that because I got that. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't you chill out. You know what I'm saying? But man, I mean, I'm kind of excited, man, because it's like, man, I got a college student now. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of exciting, but I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's still scary. Cause now I gotta send her out to the world and see what she really paying attention to me for the last 18 years. See what I'm saying?
mm. Well, so how would you feel if she came up like, man, I met a guy just like you?
Hey man, we might have to wrestle me, her, and him, dog. You know what I'm saying? The crazy thing is, man, she know James, man. She don't know Smooth, man.
Mm.
So I mean, if she met a guy like her father, cool. You know what I'm saying? But if man, like what if I meet this dude and then he's giving her
What
the
you gave
me
her
side,
mama?
the
What
me
you?
side, and then I meet this cat. You know what I'm saying? And he's acting like me. I can tell he me. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be hurt, man. I'm gonna be hurt, dog. For real.
What you got, Lee? Because I feel like Lee lives in this gray area. You know.
It's difficult for me, man. And the crazy thing is, I've been training her for this her whole life. For this moment that she would be leaving the house and then she'd be going off, whether it was to college, but whatever it would be, that she'd be leaving the house and she would be prepared. I trained her for every single situation I could think of in my head. I taught her the skills, to be able to live, whether that was cooking your own meals, whether that was washing your clothes, washing dishes, you know, making sure your house was, decent for guests, keeping your room together, even though she doesn't do very well at that. Uh, Keeping her head on a swivel, being uh being aware of her surroundings, making sure who's around, and being able to see who has your best interests at heart and who is just around what I mean, who don't mean well. So I feel like I've been training her for this situation her whole life. But man, now that she's like faced with it and she's right at the precipice of it, I'm like, I ain't do enough. Like I'm hey, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm worried a little bit, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I gotta trust the process. Like I know what I instilled. I know what I've been working on all these years. Uh, And the only way to see if she got anything from it is to have her in a real life scenario. And this is it. So, we recently just came back from visit, doing a little orientation visit up there at her college and stuff. So no, it's like Pittsburgh's a city, whatever. Philly's a city, like city. Like it ain't, it ain't small at all. So you know what I mean. You got to keep your head on the swivel for real, cause it gets ugly, real quick. So, and where she's going to college is right in the neighborhood. So it's not like off to the side. It's like right there. So, yeah, it's gonna be it's yeah, it's gonna be something, man. But I'm worried. but I'm hopeful at the same time. You know what I mean? That, if something comes up, she knows I'm here. She can call me and say, "Hey, what I do in this situation?" Hopefully, she will call me, and ask me these questions, because I'm not going to be able to be there with her to walk her through it. But yeah, man, I got mixed feelings about it, man. I was trying to get her to go to school online for the first 2 years, and then go go there, after, we were both more comfortable with the scenario. But you can't have everything you want. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a transition. So she goes in, she moves in next month. So I got a month to really mentally get my mind prepared for it. But I'm not prepared at all, for sure.
We gotta keep this conversation going next week because there's so much more question I got about this. Mo, how you feel about all this coming up?
Man, there's kind of a duality to it. So on one hand, I believe I prepared her for a world that doesn't exist. That's the fear that I have. Um, I always remember we used to always talk about. I'm like, those are problems that I don't want her to even like. I didn't prepare her for it because I didn't think she was going to have to deal with it. You know what I mean? But like, I think even like it's not even socioeconomic no more. We talked about, like there's a lack of shame, there's a lack of decorum, there's a like I think so. Now I will say, like, I feel like I've done this already. You know what I mean? Like I had a sister, and man, I feel like I almost helped raise her. So like this is almost a second chance. So like I'm like, okay, well, because I know I got it right because she's successful and stuff like that. But I think there's other things that I was like, okay, I didn't get it right with her. I'll make sure I get it right with my daughter. So like I trust my leadership and I trust that I put the right things in her. I'm just fearful that I prepared her for a world that doesn't exist. And one of the things that's going to be important is to block out the noise of the stuff that I say, hey, stay away from that. And I always told her, I always go back to this story. I remember Vic was at the mall one time and they saw somebody doing some N-word stuff. And he looked over to his daughter and said, hey, don't be like them. And I always use that same example with my daughter. I'd be like, hey, that right there, you don't want to do that. Like, we don't want to be like them. That's not who we are. Like, I get it. That, you know what I mean? That might feel fun. It might seem fun, but we don't do that. There's a standard that you going below if you do that for this family. I raise you better than that, and the stock that you come from, that's beneath you. I say that, but there's going to be a whole bunch of that at her feet, depending on where she goes to school. Like she went to a leadership camp in downtown Atlanta at a university, and just through that experience in that week, she was like, "I don't want to go here because this is like the stuff that she got exposed to was so wild. Like it was just bums everywhere, and being in a city, and like there's just stuff that you're not prepared for if you don't grow up in it. So I trust my leadership, but I'm also fearful that she's gonna be running a landmine of temptation, and hopefully she won't make the big mistake that will taint her future. But I believe in my leadership, but I am fearful that I prepared her for a world that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of deep, man. To be continued next week. Y'all good next week or in 2 weeks? We'll figure
Yeah,
out the
I'll
new
be here.
schedule.
Cool with me,
Um,
man.
man, we ran over a little bit. I like to keep y'all for an hour. That's crazy. Like the platform's changed, man. We need to upgrade our little platform. We've been off for a minute, man. But for the watchers who got us, thank you for tapping in. And that's another prototype dad. And we
We
out.
back.
Peace.